Oh, hey, what's up? I'm Jeff. This is the writing process. Back at it, back on my bullshit. I hope you guys are doing all right out there. There's a fucking million-acre fire happening in California. The world's falling apart. Our presidential and vice presidential candidates are laughably out of touch. The poor are just being ground into the gutters, just in every which way. Things are about to get real weird, uh, even more than they are right now, probably. So at least we can still make art and read things on the internet. So, all right. Shattered Worlds, Day 1, Book 3, Chapter 16. Faline. Faline punched the wall. 4 bloodied knuckle marks appeared on the paint. Fuck! She wagged her hand and winced at the pain. The other was tucked close against her chest, the arm held within a hastily slapped together sling. A stone-faced guardsman came into the room. Faline Faroon, I've heard good things about you. Oh, wait, I did the voice wrong. This guy's voice is much weenier. Faline Faroon, I've heard good things about you. She turned. Bascom was there. The liar. He'd let them into the city with weapons, and so of course they'd shot. At least one of the fuckers was dead, so she was facing a manslaughter charge, minimum. Typical sentence for that crime on Calestria was 6 years hard labor. Out here on the Frontier Star, it could be 20, or death. Have they brought that quaint old tradition back? Faline nodded and leaned against the wall. The guardsman gestured to the chair. Sit. Let's chat. I ain't telling you shit, cop. I want to see my captain. Bascom shook his head. He smiled. You'll see your captain very soon, love. Now, please, sit. She drew in a ball of phlegm, held it on her tongue, and sat down. She was going to fuck this pig up real good. Thank you, Miss Faroon. Now tell me, where is the statue? Faline squinted her eyes. This guy was strong, she could tell that. He wasn't armed, which meant she had the upper hand. He was probably not alone, however, which meant she'd have to take him down quickly. She breathed slowly. She was stuck. Fuck. I don't know shit about no statue, pig. She kicked away from the table and put her feet up on it, the soles of her boots facing the smirking stooge. His smile disappeared. The sudden change in expression unsettled her. This was a man not to be trifled with. I want to see the captain. Bascom leaned back against his chair and smiled. I'm sorry, love. Captain Thraxus is dead. Her face dropped. Oh my God. I've killed him. Oh no. The realization was crushing. She slid out of her seat and hit the floor. Bascom stood. If he had the urge to assist her, he resisted it. He walked to the door and waved a few fingers at someone through the glass. The door popped open. Bascom looked back before he left the room. I killed him myself. Oh shit! Captain Bascom is a bad motherfucker and kind of a cheeseball at the same time. All right. Yo, if you like this, listen back to all the others. Listen to me read it with more commentary on my podcast. Everything is awesome with Jeff and question mark because I'm still looking for a co-host. If you or anyone you know would like to co-host a show of this nature, interview artists and such, shoot us an email, everythingisawesomepodcast@gmail.com, or hit me up on Twitter at EIA Podcast. Let's see. Next one. Let's go on to another one. What do you say? Oh, so this is a weird one. This one is like all the characters, kind of because Sophris is there, I think is the vibe. We'll just call it Sophris. Faline walked into the identification area next to the morgue. Ramsdell and Numerius were already there, along with Grundle, the great clod. No sign of Portillion or the priestess bitch. So it should be Faline if it's already in her mind. Although Sophris, whatever, we'll learn more. Joran was standing against the wall, facing no one in particular. She walked into the middle of the room, shouting, "Which one of you motherfuckers sold us out?" Joran looked up. "Keep your voice down. If you irritate them, they'll pull us all out of here with prejudice. I don't know about you, but I like my face the way it is." He looked her up and down and marked a lump of bandages under her shirt. "You got shot." She spat on the floor between them. "No shit, cocksucker. My captain is dead because of you." Joran walked up to her, looking into her pale blue eyes. "I like you, Faline, but you're getting very close to making me not like you." He called into his mind Sophris's consciousness. Nothing. She pointed a thick, scarred finger at his face. "You lost the goddamn statue, asshole." "How do you figure? I thought it was with Grundle and Portillion." Grundle looked up at him. "You knew? Did the captain tell you?" The room was silent. Silent like a morgue. Eerie. Joran was dumbfounded. What is happening? Joran turned to Grundle. "The captain told me nothing. I learned the hard way." He made a strange, stricken expression, very un-Joran-like, and held it so both Faline and Grundle could see. "Way I see it, Captain made other plans. We all got played on this one." He shook his head. Faline looked genuinely shocked. She got in real close. "What happened?" "I'll tell you more when we get out of here. It's not great." The door to the viewing room opened. They went in. The identification room was cold. The coroner was wearing blue scrubs and gloves. He waited until they were all in before pulling back the sheet. They felt it. He was gone. This was no illusion. Faline lost all strength, collapsing to her knees. Joss helped her to her feet. Sophris walked her to the door. "Now Sophris is here? I swear to God, I said earlier Sophris isn't." The fuck? He called into his mind Sophris's consciousness. Nothing. What does that mean? How is that possible? I must did it, but not all the way. So now Sophris is here. They felt it. He was gone. This was no illusion. Faline lost all strength, collapsing to her knees. Joss helped her to her feet. Sophris walked her to the door. Joran grabbed his shoulder. Sophris turned to face him. Joran asked quietly, "Who shot him?" Sophris thought about his answer. "I don't know, Joran. I think it was the guard captain. But I don't know. We were fleeing. It was hectic. But please know, he did not die in pain." Joran couldn't feel Sophris's spirit. Strange. Something must be preventing his powers. Or perhaps he was merely depleted. Joran put a hand on his shoulder. Sophris's sad eyes spoke volumes. Sophris broke the silence. "I tried, Joran. I really tried." "I know, buddy. I know." He looked back at the body. Joran looked back at the body. "Let's get the fuck out of here." All right. Yeah. That's like on a TV show where like they show you the body, like Thraxus is definitely dead, you guys. Faylene really cares about Thraxus. Like she was rocked. So anywho. Oh, by the way, I had Thai food at Peanut Sauce, which is in Tacoma. It's near the Chuck E. Cheese and Azteca. It's super good on Tacoma Mall Boulevard. I had the quinoa fried rice with tofu and some quinoa spring rolls and fried spring rolls because, of course, I gotta feed my hunger for fried foods. Anywho's, one more chapter and we'll be out of here. This one's definitely a Joran chapter. Joran. "That will be all, gentlemen." The heroes noted the elegant motion of bejeweled fingers thrusting through the open door. The men inside the room fluttered away in an instant. Only Captain Bascom remained, holding the pommel of his blade, head bowed in reverence for the Avandi. Joran knew why they had brought him into her chambers, but he wished it wasn't what it was all the same. Avandi Lizette Marshall had her man. The regal red-haired woman standing in the doorway nodded to the guardsman, beaming with pride at her guard captain's decisive victory. "You too, Captain. Thank you so much." Her tone was haughty, with just a hint of sarcastic flourish. She was a sight indeed, a gorgeous middle-aged redhead, her body displaying spectacular muscle. Her body displaying spectacular muscle definition, slender, sinewy, yet still soft in the places that mattered most. She was the kind of woman a man could sink his teeth into. Ah, boy, she's been working out. Joran Barlow. My goodness, what have they been feeding you? You've dwindled to a stub. She ran into his arms and threw her own around his neck, pale silken elbows resting gingerly on his shoulders. She closed her eyes as if expecting a kiss. Joran refrained. Gods, her body was warm. I get by, my lady. She smacked his chest like the coquettish child she had once been all those years before. Joran Barlow. You will call me Liz, as always. Thank you very much. The last three syllables were punctuated by a series of sharp, poking stabs of her finger on his chest. It's been so long. She dipped to her left and walked around him, toward the vast white marble desk, her body swishing like a python descending, bowing like a branch adorned with the wintry thickness of snow. She tugged him along behind her, gripping the edge of his tactical vest as she strode. When they were close enough to the desk, she spun, stepped up onto the raised section of carpet that led up to it, and pressed her richly apportioned bottom into the thick, dark wood. She was tall for a woman. That single step up had brought her eyes to his level. She blinked, blushing, and popped herself up onto the marble surface of the desk, her feet grazing his shins with her toes. She flipped off she flipped off a slipper and slid 5 perfectly formed bare pink toes up the inside of Joran's leg. Liz, please. My friends and I would like leave to exit from the palace. We have a ship waiting. She laughed and reached back for a drink that was resting near her impeccably upholstered high seat. She offered it to him. He looked down at the mouth of the glass. Mojito? Tell me, Joran. She waved her hand towards Bascom. Bascom walked forward to undo Joran's cuffs. He nodded in thanks, shook his wrists, and rubbed his hands to restore feeling. What am I to do with you? She laughed again. Joran sneered. Everyone here is so happy. All this laughter. She moved her face closer to his and tightened her grip on his lapel. She whispered, Joran, I can make this very advantageous for everyone. Them's big words, Highness. I don't deserve such fancy talk. And money isn't that important. To me, he said, further clarifying his point. But to you, Princess, nothing else comes close. She stood and poked his chest again, each poke sending him backward as she moved her body up and up and up. He was nearly to the pillar before she stopped advancing. Joran Barlow, 15 years may not mean anything to you, but to me they are a tragedy. She turned as if to cry, fluttering her hand like a debutante with a paper fan. Liz, seriously, I've got big things on my plate at the moment. We can catch up anytime. She gripped him below the waist. His eyes narrowed. His voice came out in a pinched gasp. My lady, please. She held him stiff. He could feel his insides beginning to ache. His cheek muscles twitched. You left me with no one, Joran. No one to walk me to the opera. No one to share my bedchamber. She led his hand to the space between her delicately muscled thighs. Her thin white dress fluttered in the light breeze. Joran gulped. He felt 15 all over again. Gods, her body was fit in those days. 44 years later, and she still felt like a tiny pink angel, along with 44 more years of sexual experience. She would have knowledge of delights he could certainly not have enjoyed with anyone younger. She led him into the area between office and bedchamber. The draperies and furniture were exquisite. Wealth suited her. Her taste was impeccable. He remembered thinking so the first time he'd been invited to her rooms, seeing the clever ways her mind could envision a change in fabrics. Decorating had consumed her in those days. She'd had stacks of paper in various colors for writing letters, dresses every color of the rainbow, teddy bears and rows of lipstick, underthings both lacy and functional, and stockings both short and long. How long they were, he remembered, his neck shivering for a half second before the thought made it red and hot again. She patted a cushion on the divan beside her. He recognized it. It was the one she'd fucked him on before he left to go home to his dying wife. The last time he'd failed his own honor. He sat. Liz, my friends are innocent. I'll tell you what you wish to know, but please, let them go. She smiled and leaned to one side. How she reminded him of his youth, his reckless indiscretions, the times he had dallied with her when he should have been training, the whispers in the garden, and the consequences of their discovery. Her brothers had been furious. He was sent away, and she was wed. At 12, she lost her childhood. At 15, he lost his freedom. Many years later, while serving in the field, he'd seen her and they had done the forbidden. He'd carried the secret of their infrequent dalliances until his 43rd year, when his wife finally learned the truth. She begged him to renounce Lizette, to refuse to see her again. He promised, but he couldn't muster the courage. 3 days later, she was diagnosed with untreatable cancer. She died a few months after that, having forgiven him his crime. But Joran could not forgive himself. 4 months later, his daughter was dead as well, taken by a strange disease, a mysterious illness which no doctor in the conclave could make sense of. He had loved this woman and lost his life for it. He was the man he was because of her. Or rather, he'd allowed himself to be weak for want of her. He could have gone to her side, buried the shame of losing his wife, and cleaved to her as confidant and lover. But he couldn't do it. Not after what he had done. And Lizette had never forgiven him for making that choice. She was my wife, Lizette. I could not abandon her. So instead, you abandoned me, your first love. She placed his hand on her breast. It was as supple as it had been the day they first met. What sorcery was at work with this one? It's no matter. You will stay with me in the palace, and your friends will be given You will stay with me in the palace, and your friends will be given leave to go. Bascom! The mustachioed guardsman hustled into view. My lady. Have the captives return to their ship and send them on their way. If they resist, shoot them. And Mr. Barlow, madam. She smiled, looking Joran over. She turned back to Bascom and flittered out a witty retort. And flittered out her retort. Witty, I mean, I can't. It's not even that witty. And flittered out a retort. He's with me. She laughed and laughed, patting Joran on the chest with each subsequent guffaw. 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 Patting Joran on the chest with each subsequent guffaw. Lizette Marshall, y'all. Here she is. She is the big, bad, evil guy so far. Scary. We've already heard that there's like mass graves and shit here. Like, it's real dark. So yeah, get ready for it. I guess that's it for this one. I should shut her down. Thank you for listening. You guys are great. Take care of yourselves. The world needs you. Pitch in, help out. Climate change is a fucking nightmare. Black Lives Matter still needs your help. So get in there and make a change. Gonna make a change for once in my life. Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun-dun. Fuck. Bye.